talking, it reminds me of scripture in Colossians 3:13 that says, make allowance for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others. That kind of goes back to one of the things that when somebody says something, for me personally, I think, okay, they offended me. They may not know how that affected me. They may not understand. And there are some times where you can say something. There are some times when the Spirit says, don't say anything. You feel God saying, you need to hold off on saying that.
There's nothing good you can say
right.
back.
Right. So there, I think about the scripture, but there are times when we can say something.
Yeah.
And I think about Matthew 18:15, where it talks about, if your brother offends you, go to them. Or even Paul says, in the spirit of love and gentleness, to go to them and let them know. And if they don't take it, then, the next part says, grab a brother or sister, especially if it's a situation that happened where if Greg offends me and Nate's sitting around and I go to Greg, privately, hey, Greg, like, that was kind of rough. And if Nate was there, I'd be like, hey, man, if we can talk. And then it says go to the church last, if the elders, if they don't hear it. Go to the church if they don't hear it. And hear from pastor, and if they don't, I'm not going to go into the rest of the verse. Count that as them.
No, tell them, Victor. This is the real. Tell them.
What do you call it? I believe the scripture talks about, like see them as someone who's not even a Christian if they can't hear from the elder. But to letting people know, I think that's so important with our triggers in the spirit of gentleness. If we can, if that's even somebody, we haven't even got to all the other stuff that other triggers. No, but this is real talk. This is really good. We might have to do another day for that.
Part 2.
If it's all right. Well, we're going to go a little bit in. We're going to go a little bit further.
Can I say something
Go
in
ahead.
a comment?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So one of the things that came to mind was just recognizing that pastors, apostles, preachers, teachers, like, they're there to perfect the saints, and they're not perfect people, but just recognizing that their intentions are to preach the word and to give you the truth and not to offend. And, sometimes the truth hurts. I found that a lot of offense that comes up is rooted in pride. And so when you think about those things, you just have to recognize, why am I offended? Understanding where that individual is coming from helps a long way and goes a long way when it comes to forgiveness. Just asking yourself, why am I offended? And just taking the time to really pray and humble yourself and to just receive whatever it is that God's going to give you or what he's trying to give you, I think just helps in situations like those. So that's all I wanted to say.
And I do remember my pastor saying the situation where somebody ended up leaving the church and then asked him, and the person thought that they had rebuked them publicly on the church. On there when the pastor was praying.
I felt like that before.
Nicotine demon.
Okay, not that one, but still.
And the person said, like, you told me to leave the church. Like, when did I tell you to leave the church? He said, when you said, I curse you, nicotine demon.
Get out of this church now.
And they thought they were talking about them.
Yeah.
So recognizing at the same time, like, hey, what offends us, and, people may not understand. And sometimes, we get offended by things that necessarily the person didn't even know about.
Talking
as well.
to you. The shoe fits. Well, I'm just kidding.
I just want to say to Lynette's point, seeing that we are going across the world, like, there may be some people who, like, they were deeply offended by a pastor or clergy member in the denomination. Maybe they were molested or touched, like, in an inappropriate way. Like, I just want to let you all know that God still loves you, and that forgiveness is to help you to grow spiritually. And I know sometimes we hold God accountable for the things that the woman of God or the man of God does, and so we don't see the love of God because we still see the hurt from that physical person. And so I just want to encourage you, like, just to continue to pray and to seek the Lord's face, because the Bible says, like, when you draw nigh to God, God will draw nigh to you. And that curse or that thing that happened to you, that's going to be your testimony.
Exactly.
But sometimes we may not see it right now, and I just want to encourage you all just to walk by faith, because you may not see it, it may not be manifested in your life, but I believe that your testimony will be something that will break the yokes of the people that you minister to as you continue to seek the Lord's face for forgiveness and getting past what happened to you by this clergy member or, you know, this man or woman of God.
Amen.